Welcome back, folks. We are going to work on the stairs today. We made a little connector piece last time, but I think I'm going to move that at some point, but not right now. We'll talk about that later when we go to install it. Let's go ahead and make sure we know what our measurements are. So I'd like you to do this and measure with me, please. Go to your measure tool, and you're going to click on this corner right there on the corner of your decking that you built, in other words, the top surface of it, and then just click on the ground. Now, if you've done this the way I have, it should be 31 inches. Now, whether it is 31 inches or not, you're going to build the stairs along with me the way that I'm building them, but I need you to let me know if that dimension is not 31 inches. So let's get started. Okay, we are going to start a new part studio. Let's go ahead and hit the little plus symbol and say I want to create a part studio. And we're going to rename that part studio that you're currently in, and then just call it front stairs. So let's capitalize. We may make back stairs. We'll see what happens. Okay, so we've got the front stairs. And we're going to start putting this together. But first, before we get into that, I'd like you to pause this video and go grab yourself a piece of paper and a pencil. We're going to do some sketching. So just graph paper would work, notebook paper would work, blank paper would work, any of that stuff. So just grab a piece of paper and we will do some sketching. So let's sketch. I had a little interruption there, so I'm not sure where we were, but we got a piece of paper. And let's go ahead and draw the top deck. Just sketch something representing the top deck. Make this kind of skinny board that is going to represent that top of that deck. If you remember, it hangs over a little bit from what we were. All right, more interruptions. Let's try this again. All right, so if you'll remember, the edge hangs over a little bit. I think it was 3/4 of an inch. And what we need to do is we're going to talk about our stairs. So what I need to do is I need to think about the number of rises that I need. So I know that my rises cannot be more than 7 inches. That's code. So there's this thing called the 7-11 rule. Your rises cannot be more than 7 inches, and your tread, your run, in other words, cannot be less than 11 inches. I believe that that's still in code. So I know that I'm going to need 5 total rises to get to the top. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's draw something that looks like this. Now, on top of each one of these is going to be 2 2x6 boards, and we're going to make those hang over just a little bit also. So draw yourself these skinny little boards that look like this. If you're ever going to build a deck, or you're going to have some set of stairs, you're going to follow this same process. And then finally we have the ground down here at the bottom. Okay, so we can go ahead and extend that, whatever, and have the ground. All right, now here's what's important. It is 31 inches from here to the ground, right? And everywhere, now we're going to have this set of stairs. It's going to start here because here's where the edge of the deck is. Okay, but we're not going to, but we have to include this in what we're thinking about in our pattern right here. But notice that the deck already stops right here, right? We're going from here to here is going to be a certain distance. So this distance is always going to include the decking above it, right? But we have to think about the distance that we're cutting right here as an X, which is going to be the same thing for all 3 of these. And in fact, for this one also, because it's following the same thing. Now, that is true, but here's the problem with down here on the very bottom one. On the very bottom one, there is no board here, right? It's different. So this actually has to be a little bit shorter, because it's as if there was a board here, right? And the ground is being made up of a board, but let's not put that in there. So that distance is actually going to be x, but it's going to subtract out the distance that would have needed to go to that next board. So it's x minus 1.5. Okay, because that next part, or this next piece, is different than the rest. All right, now we're going to do a little calculating here to see how far we need our distances to go. So we know that the total distance to the top here is 31. Okay, so here I've got 31, but this next one is going to end right here. It's not going to end up at the top, right? It's going to end right there. So we know that our total distance is going to be 31, just follow with me here, minus 1.5 is going to be the top of our stringer, not necessarily the top of the step, okay? But then we also need to think about this 1.5 right here, but that's not part of the distance. So that 31 minus 1.5 is going to equal 4, oh, there's our bell, is going to equal 4x plus that x minus 1.5. Now it should be like this, but there's nothing to distribute out here. So really it's going to be 29.5. Please write this down with me, right? 29.5 is going to equal 4x plus x minus 1.5. Okay, so that really means that 5x equals, subtract 1.5 from each side, and that brings us back to the 31. Okay, so x equals, let's do the math, shall we? 31 divided by 5 equals 6.2. which would be about 6 3/16. All right, please take a picture of this that you were working on and that you copied for me, and that's going to be the first part of this assignment. And now we're going to apply this to actual building. So here we go. After you've got your picture, let's go back to our on shape, back to our front stairs that we started sketching. So if you don't have this open, we made a front stairs tab. We just opened it. We haven't done anything with it yet. Let's sketch on the front. That will work well. Or will it work well to go on the front? Hold on. Let's look at this. No, we're going to sketch on the right. So I'm going to sketch on the right side. Right click, new sketch. And let's go ahead and hit N for normal and P for planes to turn the planes off. Now, I'm not going to sketch on the origin right now. Follow with me. This is going to be a little weird. We're going to make a, we're going to do this backwards, actually. In normal, in the normal circumstances, we figure out what our rise and our run is, and we use one of these squares to lay it out. Like, let's say we're at right now 6.2, which is going to be about 6 3/16, and then we'll go out that 11-inch tread that we want, and then we'll lay it out. We'll lay it out, then we'll move it down, and we line those two things up with the edge of the board. Then we move it down to make a stringer. We're going to do that a little bit different, but we're still going to do this the right way. So we're going to go ahead and start with a line and come down. Actually, let's just start with that line. No, I take it back. I'm going to change my mind a couple times. That's okay though. So let's delete that. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by going up from the origin point. Let's do that. We'll go up. Now make sure that your cursor shows straight up. Okay, and we're going to go that 6.2, but remember it's going to be minus 1.5 for the top. 6.2 minus 1.5. Okay, so that's our first one. It's going to probably extend quite a ways out. Escape to get out of there. Now we're going to come out. We're going to come out 11. Okay, the distance that we go horizontally doesn't really matter. We can choose it. So we're just going to go what we know our minimum is. Okay, now we're going to just keep going and we're going to go down our 6.2. Click 6.2. Now I'm going to show you something easy to do. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm just going to click and I'm going to show you an easy way to do this so I don't have to keep entering numbers every time. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, one more, and 5. Okay, now this last one has to be the 6.2 minus 1.5 again, which was 4.7. So we're going to make that one 4.7. Now, let's make sure I did this right, because if I didn't, I'm going to have to go back and think about this again. So I'm going to dimension, but I'm not actually going to dimension. I just want to see what it is right now. From here to, whoops, I messed that up. Let's try that again. Yeah, I know. Dimension, I'm going to go from there down to the bottom, and that should be 31 point. Oh, it's because I haven't made anything equal to itself. Okay, hold on. You have to mess up if I mess up, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this first. I forgot I've got to dimension these things. So rather than put in numbers every time, I'm going to use this equal constraint. So you can, this is in a drop-down menu possibly for you where you can choose equal. And what you're going to do is you're just going to go through and I'm going to make that riser equal to that riser. And then that riser equal to that riser. I'm not going to do the last one because I dimensioned it, right? Now we're going to do the same thing with the tread. So I'm going to make that equal to that, and that equal to that, and that equal to that. Okay, so it gets them all together. Now everything's black because remember that's all fully constrained. All right, so now I am going to use the dimension tool, but I'm not actually going to dimension. I just want to see what it says from there to there. I hope is, now that's saying 28 when I was hoping it would be 29.5. No, I wanted to subtract out 3 because I need to consider 1.5 on the bottom and 1.5 on the top. So actually that should work out. I got to think about this for a second. Actually, I did mess that up. I'm going to delete this. I forgot that this top one is not, it's already 1.5 inches shorter. I subtracted it too much. So that one's actually going to be 6.2 also. So let's change that top one to be 6.2. Now, if we think of another line that's going to be 1.5 inches up from that, now I know the whole thing should be 29.5. Sorry for the loud heater that just went on. Perfect. Now I'm going to hit escape because I'm not actually going to put that in there. Perfect. Now we've got our board that we're ready to cut out. Okay, now we're going to cut out what's called a stringer from this. Now this piece right here, I'd like you to zoom into this line and highlight it. And up here somewhere, it might be in a drop-down menu, we're going to change that to a construction line. So we're not actually going to cut that part of the board out. Okay, that's going to be where it attaches, and it's going to attach down here. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. We're going to pretend that we've got this pattern. We know what we're going to cut out. We're going to cut it out of a stringer, out of a 2x12. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to draw some lines. Draw a line. Whoops, I'm still in the construction command. Let's draw a line. I do not want it to be construction, so make sure that's off. We're going to just randomly do not have these yellow lines showing up. I don't want to line it up with anything, and draw it approximately the same slope. Okay. Now it looks like we're going to be able to get away with a 72-inch board here, so that's good. So we can buy a 1/12 footer to get both stringers off of. 72 plus 72, right? So I'm going to click that and make that line 72 inches. Okay. All right. Now, I used to be able to hit escape, and I don't know why I'm having these problems right now. We're going to make a coincident constraint. So somewhere up here along all your other things where we have these different constraints, there's one called coincident. So we can use that coincident constraint. Click on your line and click on this point right here. And that's going to bring the line to that point. Now yours may go under or over, it might be close. We're also going to take the other end. Now if your line goes below, it doesn't matter, or above, it doesn't matter. We're going to click on that line again and go to this point right here. Okay. Now, it made a bunch of enclosed spaces, and that's okay. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to draw some more lines. And we're going to draw, now somewhere if I hover over this long enough, it should show me, there it is. If you look right to the lower right, I can't point to it because is that little thing, looks like a little chair sitting on the ground. That actually means perpendicular. So I want to be perpendicular to that other line that's highlighted. Make sure that little symbol shows up. I see that horizontal, I don't want that. So make sure only the perpendicular shows up. We're going to click, and then we're going to enter in 11.5. That's about the true width of a 2x12. All right, now my line command is still on. So I'm going to come down here and watch what happens if I hover around long enough. It's going to make it perpendicular again to that board, which is, I do want that to show up again. I want it to be perpendicular, which means I'm parallel to the other one. Remember your proofs? Okay, so I'm going to try to get it close, but it doesn't really matter. Click, and then I'm going to go back to the end and click. Now, the last thing I need to do is I need to make this perpendicular. So we're going to go perpendicular, choose our perpendicular constraint. Again, it might be in a drop down, and you're going to choose these two edges right here to make them perpendicular. They might look like it, but they're not. So we're going to click those two, okay, and make them perpendicular. Now we actually have a board. Now the reason why there's blue lines instead of black is that I haven't defined where that is, so we can kind of do this, right? So the last thing we can do, let's go ahead and do this, is let's make a coincident constraint. So we have a little extra board to use, and we'll go from here and coincident to that point right there. Now everything is kind of locked down. Now, in the real world, we would have laid out our square over and over and over again, going 6.211, 6.211, 6.211, so on and so forth, and making that as a template. Now, remember up here we made this a construction line? We're actually going to draw a line and cut this downward because we don't need this top part. We're going to connect this directly to the face. Now, notice that I've got two little things showing up. I want that. I need this to be perfectly vertical, and I need it to hook up to that line right there. Click. Okay. Now I'm going to hit escape. And I'm now on the bottom. We're going to make another line, and we're going to be perfectly horizontal. So again, there's two things showing up, horizontal line and the coincident constraint to go here. Click. Okay. Now, there's a lot of stuff on there, right? But we're only going to extrude one little thing. We're going to extrude just this part right here as if we cut it out of the board to make our stringer for our stairs. So let's finish the sketch a little bit. We're going to extrude. We're going to extrude just that right there to 1.5 inches, standard thickness of the standard 2x material. And enter. And let's go ahead and well, we'll make them all the nice color later. So there's our stringer that we've cut out. Very cool. All right. Now, next, I think what we'll do is, rather than, let's go ahead and make this a 4-foot, we'll use 4-foot boards, okay? So we'll go out about 3/4 of an inch. Watch what I'm going to do here. This is kind of important. I'm going to make a plane. Click on plane. We're going to click on this face right here. Make sure you're looking at it the same way I am. Click. We're going to offset in this direction that it's going away from the stairs. And let's go out 1.5 inches. Cool. All right, so we've got a plane to draw on. Now, we're going to go the other way 2 feet. Just trust me on this one. So we're going to do another plane. We're going to get an offset, but we're going to offset from this plane. We're going to go the other way, though, 24 inches. All right, because this is going to represent the edge of the board. All right, now we need another set of stringers, right? So let's, we're going to make them 4 feet apart. Now, in the real world, that's going to be too far. So let's do this. We're going to start by putting one 2 feet away. So this is going to be a little weird, but you're going to do fine with it. We're going to sketch, just trust me, we're going to sketch on this plane that we just made in the middle. Sketch on plane 2. All right. So notice I'm sketching on there. Orient it kind of the same way I have it. We're going to use some edges. So up here, right here, there should be a little thing that looks like a little cube, says use or convert. We're going to choose that and hover. See what happens when you hover over that face? Click on that, and it's going to create that whole new set of steps in the middle. All right. Now, we're going to now extrude, finish that sketch. We're going to extrude, okay? Now, this time, choose symmetric. And what's going to happen is it's going to go both ways out from that. So instead of blind, we're going to choose symmetric. We're going to choose 1.5. And we're going to click on that. And it should, see how it extended out both directions? Cool. Check. So that's our middle stringer. Now, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to extrude, or sorry, we're going to mirror. We're going to mirror, and we're going to take part 1, that very first set we made. We're going to mirror that, click on it. Now it says, what do you want to be your mirror plane? I'm going to click on that to activate it. It's got to be blue. And then we're going to choose that plane right there, and it's going to make another stringer over there. Cool. All right, there's our 4-foot stringers. Cool, there's our 3 stringers. I'm going to turn these planes off just because they're Actually, I need the plane 1, so I'm going to turn just plane 2 off. All right, now we're going to make our boards that are going to go up there and be part of this. So let's go ahead and sketch on this plane. I'm going to bring myself normal to it. Kind of hides the other ones, and that's okay. And we're going to make 2 2x6s with a little space in between. So here we go. We're going to make some rectangles starting at the origin. Okay, and I'm going to make it 5.5 long and 1.5 high. Okay, then we're going to make another one. I'm going to show you guys how to do this. It's kind of cool. I'm going to make another one down here still. Click, and again, we're going to make it 5.5. And because I may have already lined it up, but I'm going to go ahead and put in 1.5 anyway for the other height. Oh, it was already, I'm going to undo that. It was already locked to that height. If something turns red for you, it's because you're trying to put in a dimension that's already held in place. And the last thing that we will do is dimension from here to here as 1/4 of an inch, kind of like we did with the decking. All right. Now, I'm going to try something here. I'm not sure that this will work, so you might have to bear with me here. I'm going to try and copy these 2 rectangles and see if I can just paste them every time. So we're going to start on the left and drag a box by holding your mouse button down. Yeah, now you have to drag from left to right, because if you drag from right to left, it'll get a whole bunch of other stuff in there. No, it's only going to get the sketch entities. So, so again, drag a box around your sketch and its entities, and we're going to right click and see if we can copy these. It's not telling me. Do I have a copy button? Hold on, I'm going to find out how to do this. Okay, for whatever reason, I didn't see copy sketch entities before. So I'm going to copy sketch entities. Okay. And then I'm going to see if I can paste the sketch entities. Now, when you do that, I paste it right out over here, and you're going to do a coincident constraint between that point and that point. There we go. Right click, paste sketch entities, then do a coincident constraint between that point and that point, and one more, paste sketch entities. Coincident constraint between that point and that point. Cool. All right. Now we can finish our sketch, and we're going to turn a little bit, and we're going to extrude. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose, instead of faces and regions, we're just going to choose that last sketch, and it should choose everything that was in there. Okay. Now it wants to make new parts. Let's add. It's going to ask you what you want it to add it to. So your merge scope is going to have to be this part right here. That should work. I have to go the other direction though, and it should be okay once I put in 48 inches. Let's see what happens. There we go. Right before it wasn't hitting anything, and it said you can't do that. And now we've got our pieces, our boards that make up our stairs. Cool. All right, last thing we're going to do, just to make it easy on ourselves, is we're going to combine all these together into one part by clicking on all 3 of these things down here, and somewhere up here is this Venn diagram looking thing that says Boolean. That means we can make them all one part. So you're going to take all of those 3 things and say, yep, one part. And it should combine them into one. Let's right click that and rename those as front stairs also. All right. And finally, make it the appearance that you always do. You could make it a little, I'll make it the same color I made the deck, I think. And do that. I can turn off the plane. All right, let's get a picture of those stairs and put that into the assignment. And that is going to be enough for this time. We will install those stairs next time. Nice work, folks. See you soon.